3:17 a.m., the security cameras caught something walking through the store. But I was the only one inside. Have you ever worked the night shift and feel like something's just off? The silence feels heavier. Every flicker of the lights pulls your eyes toward the shadows. Tonight, I'm telling you the true story of my scariest night working alone. A night that made me question what's real and what's waiting for us when no one's around to see. Stay with me because by the end, you'll hear the part of the security footage that still keeps me awake. I was working at a small 24-hour convenience store on the edge of town, the kind of place where the hum of the refrigerators is louder than any conversation. It was mid-January, a Tuesday night, and we'd had maybe 3 customers in the past 2 hours. The streets outside were slick with freezing rain, and the parking lot was empty except for my rusted sedan and a delivery truck parked far in the corner, engine still idling. The night felt normal, at first. The routine was simple. Restock shelves. Watch the cameras. Kill time until sunrise. Around 2:45 a.m., I was behind the counter scrolling through the store's ancient security system, mostly out of boredom. The cameras were grainy, black and white, and a little glitchy. Every so often the feed would freeze for a second before snapping back to life. At 2:58, something caught my attention. Camera 3, which points toward the front entrance, flickered, then froze on an image of the glass doors, open. But they weren't open in real life. I could see them from where I stood, locked shut. I figured it was just another glitch, so I reset the feed. When the cameras came back online, the doors were closed again, but there was something else. On camera 5, the one that looks down aisle 4, a figure was standing there, tall, motionless, head tilted slightly like they were listening for something. I froze. I hadn't heard anyone come in. The chime above the door hadn't rung, and there was no way to get in through the back without tripping an alarm. My heart started pounding. The figure didn't move, didn't turn, just stood there. I picked up the store phone and called the back office. It's an automated line to our night security team. Nobody answered. I thought about calling the police, but something in me hesitated. What was I going to say? Hi, there's a guy in aisle 4 who might be a camera glitch. So instead, I stepped out from behind the counter and walked toward the aisle. My footsteps echoed on the linoleum. The hum of the coolers felt louder than ever. When I turned the corner into aisle 4, it was empty. I stood there for a moment, heart racing, and then went back to the counter. That's when I saw the figure again, this time on camera 7 in the storage room. The storage room is locked. I have the only key. I didn't move. I just stared at the screen. The figure was closer now. I could make out more detail. The shoulders were too broad for a normal person and the head seemed wrong. Almost too long, as if the skull stretched further back than it should. And then the cameras glitched. For one frame, the figure was looking straight at the lens. Its eyes were pure white. The silence broke with a sound from the back, like metal scraping against metal. I grabbed the heavy flashlight we keep under the counter and crept toward the storage room. When I reached the door, I could hear something inside, breathing. Not fast, not human. Long, slow breaths like whatever was in there were trying not to be heard. I backed away and decided to wait by the counter until morning. But then the lights flickered and went out completely. The store was pitch black except for the glow of the camera monitors. Every feed showed static. Every feed except camera 1, the register cam. And that's when I saw it. The figure was standing on the other side of the counter, right in front of me. Except when I looked up from the monitor, there was nothing there. The lights snapped back on. The cameras reset. And every single feed showed the same image. Me, standing behind the counter, with the figure directly behind me. I spun around, swinging the flashlight wildly. Nothing. Just empty air. The front doors suddenly banged open so hard they cracked against the wall. Freezing air rushed in. And for just a second, I saw it, reflected in the glass. A tall, pale shape slipping out into the parking lot, moving faster than any human should. The delivery truck that had been parked in the corner? Gone. When the morning shift came in, I told them everything. We pulled the camera footage, but it was gone. The system had auto-overwritten the night between 2:50 and 3:30 a.m. The only proof I had was a single frame, me at the counter with something tall and pale behind me. I still have that image. And sometimes when I work nights, I swear I see the delivery truck parked across the street, engine idling, waiting. If you think the worst part of a night shift is staying awake, wait until you hear what's been watching me through the glass every night. There's a reason some people refuse to work nights. Not because of the hours, but because of the things that happen when the rest of the world is asleep. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the true story of a night shift that started like any other, until something started tapping on the window. And trust me, by the end, you'll never look at an empty parking lot the same way again. It was the middle of January, the kind of cold where even the air feels sharp in your lungs. I'd been working at this small 24-hour gas station for about 6 months. The store sat on the edge of town, surrounded by nothing but a 2-lane road and a stretch of woods so thick that at night, it looked like a solid black wall. The fluorescent lights inside hummed constantly, and the smell of burnt coffee lingered no matter how many times I cleaned the pot. Most nights were dead quiet, just a few truckers stopping for fuel or the occasional local grabbing cigarettes. But that night, something felt different the second I walked in. The air inside felt colder than usual, and the hairs on my arms stood up even before my shift started. I shrugged it off as nothing more than the winter chill. It was around 2:15 a.m. when I noticed the first strange thing. The station had this big glass front door and 2 tall windows that looked out onto the parking lot. From the counter, you could see everything, except the area right under the awning where the shadows were deepest. I was restocking chips when I heard it. That soft, deliberate, like someone lightly wrapping their fingernails against the glass. I looked up. The parking lot was empty. Not a single car in sight. The security camera monitor showed nothing. I told myself it was probably just a branch or maybe the wind. But deep down, I knew there weren't any trees close enough to hit the window. Half an hour later, I saw it. At first, I thought it was just a shadow, a tall, thin shape standing near the far gas pump. But then it moved, just enough to catch the light. Too still to be a person walking. Too tall to be anyone I knew. I blinked and it was gone. I actually stepped outside to check, the icy wind cutting right through my jacket. Nothing. No footprints. No sign of anyone. The lot was completely empty. When I went back inside, I noticed something strange. The inside of the glass door had a faint, foggy smear, like someone had pressed their face against it and breathed. The store security system had a panic button under the counter, and I kept my hand hovering near it. I told myself it was nothing, that I was being paranoid, but my gut was screaming something was wrong. Then came the power flicker. The lights went out for just half a second, but in that instant, I swear I saw a reflection in the window, eyes staring in at me. Too far apart. Too high up to be human. When the lights came back, the glass was empty again. I thought about calling the police, but what would I even say? Hi, there's a tall shadow staring at me through the window, but it keeps disappearing? They'd think I'd lost my mind. I tried distracting myself, stocking shelves, mopping the floor, but every time I glanced up, I felt it. That prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like I was being watched. Around 3:40 a.m., a car finally pulled in. I almost laughed with relief. A middle-aged man in a flannel jacket came in, grabbed a coffee, and chatted with me about the cold weather. I felt my shoulders unclench. At least I wasn't alone. But when he went to pay, he froze mid-sentence, his eyes locked on the front door. "Do you have someone waiting for you out there?" he asked quietly. I turned to look. There, standing just at the edge of the awning, was the figure again. So silent, unmoving. I couldn't make out its face, if it even had one. The shape was wrong. Limbs too long. Shoulders too narrow. I blinked and it was gone. The man didn't even finish his coffee. He left in a hurry, mumbling something about weirdos and good luck. By 4 a.m. I was shaking. Every sound felt amplified. The hum of the cooler, the drip of the coffee maker, the creak of the building settling. Then the tapping came back. This time louder. Faster. I grabbed the flashlight from under the counter and shined it toward the sound. The beam hit the glass and there it was. Not outside. Inside. The figure was leaning in from the corner of the store, impossibly tall, its head almost brushing the ceiling. Its skin, if you could call it that, looked stretched too thin over its bones, and where its eyes should have been were just 2 deep, black hollows. I didn't even think. I hit the panic button. The alarm blared, a deafening shriek that echoed through the empty store. And just like that, it was gone. No footsteps. No door opening. Just gone. The police arrived within minutes. They searched every inch of the store, the parking lot, even the woods beyond. Nothing. No footprints in the snow. No signs of forced entry. Not even a smudge on the glass. They told me it was probably a prank. Kids messing around. But I know what I saw. And the security cameras? Completely blank from 3:55 to 4:02 a.m. Like the footage had been wiped. I quit that job a week later. Some people think the scariest thing about working nights is being alone. But the truth is, you're never really alone. And sometimes, you're not the one watching. If you want to hear more night shift stories even worse than these, you'll find them here.